Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keeping Abreast with Karen on this Mammary Monday. Today, we are fortunate to have a very special guest and friend, Louisiana former Representative Julie Stokes. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Doing very well. We have been partners in good crimes, not crimes, but good deeds in the past few months and years. And we're so excited to be teamed with you and partnered with you. You're an innovative woman, even through your own cancer journey. Your energy seemed boundless. You just didn't stop. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the innovative changes we're working on for the citizens of Louisiana. And could you start with telling our listeners about how House Bill 460 was passed in the start of our friendship and our commitment?
Yeah, House Bill 460 in what was that? 2018?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, in 2018. Actually, I want to give some props to Senator now, Pat Connick, who connected us.
Indeed.
Before we ever really met, Pat had talked to you about authoring a bill to require 3D mammography in Louisiana, or require that insurance companies would pay for it if it was available at the institution that you went to for your mammography. And after everything that had just happened to me, he was kind enough to ask me to lead author it. And of course, he was an important co-author and a good friend. So we basically required that insurance companies pay for 3D mammography. I know that for myself, I didn't really understand what 3D mammography really added to the process. I had gone through having babies, and I knew that 3D ultrasounds let you have a look at your baby's face, but I really didn't get what a 3D mammogram would do for the potential of finding your cancer if it was smaller or if you had dense breast tissue. But the more I learned from you, the more important that bill became to me. We were able to usher that bill through the whole system and have it signed into law that year, which was very, very exciting. Some of the things that I think I learned in that process was that not every hospital or clinic has the ability to do 3D mammography. And that was something that we couldn't legislate. But I say to everyone out there, if you're listening, before you agree to do your mammography at a certain place, ask them if they have the capability to do 3D, and ask for that specifically. And if you can't get it there, go somewhere that you can get it.
That's very good advice because the standard of quality care for that particular screening means a lot to the citizens of Louisiana since we do have so many environmental exposures to cancer in our state. And that was extremely life changing for many people in Louisiana. And it went through all of those committees unopposed, which almost never happens. And
Yeah.
I feel like we may have had a guardian angel with us through that. And it was a thrill to watch you take that from the very beginning all through the end, and made me wish I had paid attention in civics class a little bit more.
If it's any
um,
consolation, I didn't really pay attention back then either. I had to learn it all as an adult.
oh well, at least we made it.
Yeah.
If you would tell our listeners about our new 501c4 formed by you and Chadwick Landry of Lymphomaniacs, and it's called Cancer Advocacy Group of Louisiana. What positive changes have we been able to accomplish in the short time since its inception?
Well, I think that we finished our bylaws, I want to say in like March or February. It was right before COVID, as far as I recall. We decided that we would work with Dr. Mark Matrana this year. He's from Oshner, and he does precision medicine oncology. We decided that, well, we went and interviewed him just about like what could help, like what advances in legislation are needed so that you can serve your patients better. And he told us about a situation where the health insurance policies hadn't really caught up with the new technology and the new science that was available. For instance, I don't know what you know about precision medicine, but this is basically working with your own genetics and the genetics of whatever mutation has caused this cancer to afflict you. To work with that, to, I don't know, this is really layman's terms. This is a CPA, former legislator girl trying to talk science. So, but I mean, to use your own genetics and kind of plug that little hole that will stop that cancer in its tracks, instead of the bathing your system in chemotherapy, which we know is often very difficult, as I can tell you for myself, and costs people time in the office, costs them time away from work, and a lot of misery and a lot of expense. But a lot of times, insurance wasn't covering the specific precision medicine treatment that he could offer. So people were in a quandary, like, do I just subject myself to the onslaught of chemotherapy with a lot lower odds that this is going to cure my cancer? Or do I self-fund this precision medicine treatment? What do I do? So we came in with a bill that said that precision medicine would be covered. It was already covered somewhat, but like, for instance, if you had a particular cancer that maybe had started in one area of your body and it was specific to a certain gene, but it had moved or was present in a different area of your body, insurance wouldn't cover that. So we had to adapt the law to include that part of the body, or that no matter where it occurred in the body, that if it was physician recommended, that insurance would cover it for a period of 3 months. And we'd see if it worked or not within those 3 months. So we worked with all the insurance companies. Namely, I'll say we worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield on tightening the language of the legislation to make it easier to get through the system. One of the things that I think is really important to the future success that we'll have is our ability to work with those insurance companies and try to bring a solution that does what we need it to do, what the patients of this state really need, but also works within the parameters of the insurance companies as well as we can, to provide a solution.
Yes, that's a great point that you made, that this is customized medicine for uh, your cancer. I don't think people realize how very individual cancers are. It's like a thumbprint. So precision medicine is a gene map of your body that a physician can follow for your specific needed treatment, not that standard blanket treatment and gee, hope it works for you. But this is the right medicine at the right time for the right person. And as Dr. Mark told us, it's not like when you are going to treat someone for their cancer, you go to the pharmacy, you pull a jar of breast cancer chemo off the shelf and say, here you go. It's very specialized. And we're even finding that some breast cancer treatments are working for lung cancer patients. So it was hard to get the insurance companies to understand that this isn't just a jar you get from the shelves. This is something that is very specific to the person. And I think it's going to change the survival rate of people being diagnosed. And I imagine after the bill is signed, which it was signed on, it was one day last week, I believe.
Yeah, it was just within a week ago. I think it was last Thursday.
So
Yeah.
hopefully this will be available to citizens in Louisiana in January of 21.
Yes.
I
But
think it's going to change treatment tremendously.
yes, I think it'll help a lot of people. One reason, and I've had this with a piece of legislation that I passed last year before I left the legislature, the dates that they take full effect. Sometimes that can be a really hard thing for people
Mhm.
to understand or deal with. But
Yes,
what happens is that the insurance companies will be forced to put it into all their renewals,
yes.
and then as all their policies renew, that's how it gets in there. And then by a year later, that's when the definitive effective date is. So your effective date, as per your policy, could be anywhere between when the bill is signed and the beginning of that next year.
Correct.
So that's not always the best case scenario. And I think this one is actually 2022, January of 2022, for that reason. And that's not what we want, particularly because that's very difficult to deal with in a case where somebody might have a cancer that's active right now. But it helps us to do what's a reasonable fix to make sure that it gets in the law. Without doing that, it might not get in the law in the first place, because the insurance companies would have a pretty arguable fact that they can't meet those demands until those policies renew.
Yes. Yes, that's all the blue tape and the bureaucracy, but hopefully these next 18 months will pass quickly and this will be available very soon. As a breast cancer survivor, how has that shaped you to be the woman you are today? How has it changed you?
Oh, well, along with that cancer, I went through so much. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and a pretty bad breast cancer, in the middle of running for state treasurer.
Yes.
And it was a horrible moment of life when you have to abandon a dream
Yes.
and move on to something else, which is not pleasant, because nobody,
Yes.
even though you can find great purpose in your life through something like this, which is where I'm going with this in the long run, it can be a very big disruption. So life really has evolved for me, so much so that I ended up realizing how short life can be.
Yes.
There's nothing more important to carry from it than that, but not as a fear, but as a blessing.
Yes.
I find that you can laser focus your life purpose. One of the things that I've done because of that experience is the Cancer Advocacy Group of Louisiana. I really didn't want that part of my personal mission to end when I left the legislature. So Chad Landry with Lymphomaniacs actually approached me about the potential of doing the Cancer Advocacy Group. And I thought, oh my gosh, I totally want to do that. That would be amazing. It was exciting because he believed in me, you know, enough to pull together you and a few other people that came together to form the group. We did our first bill this year, and it was exciting to be back in the building, in the Capitol. I loved getting that bill through the system. I loved advocating for people in need. So it was really an incredible opportunity for me. And I thank you guys for that, because Karen is part of the Cancer Advocacy Group, and it's very exciting stuff. So that's how it can change your life.
Yes.
You find purpose. You find your ministry in your mess sometimes. And I think that's one
That's a
of the
great way to put it.
highest calls on our life, is to take the bad things that happen, because they're going to happen,
Sure.
and just try to make the lemonade out of your lemons. And this has been one of the ways that God's given me to be able to do that.
It's true. When you're in some of your darker moments, you're asking God, please show me the way and just show me what you want me to do with this
Yeah.
burden that I have, and I will do whatever is necessary to make it less burdensome for others.
Yeah.
Um, and we are so fortunate to have you as our champion on the state capitol. We really are.
Thank you.
We have all experienced that feeling of helplessness and maybe a little funky depression through our treatment days. So, during your therapies, what got you through those dark days, those tough days?
Oh gosh. I mean, there were some really dark days. I'm going to be honest. I did 2 rounds of chemo. The first one, and everybody's different. So for me, doing Taxol was easy. Like, I got
Mm.
through the Taxol, and it was like 12 weeks of that. Like, oh yeah, this is going to be easy. And then came, I don't even remember the technical name for it, but the Red Devil, and that was 4 treatments.
Adriamycin. Yes,
Oh, it's hard, and
it is the red devil.
it is. And I'm a person that always like, oh, it's going to be fine. Well, there were some days when that just wasn't going to be fine. And, you know, when I got diagnosed and I knew I was going to go through chemo, I laugh now because I find these like the yellow, I mean, they're like blue bags, barf bags. It's horrible. But, but I
They become
found
your friend.
I thought they would, and that never was the case. But it's funny because we've organized our house a few times and I'm always finding those barf bags and I'm like, I never had to use them. But so that's what I thought would be so hard. What I really didn't understand was going to be by far the hardest part was the mental part. There's
Oh,
something about that chemo that just gets in your brain. And those were, every time I did it, there were 3 days that were some
yes.
of the darkest days of my life where all I wanted to do is sit and stare. I couldn't, like, I'd have a glass of water right next to me and think, that's, I'm thirsty. But not even connecting, that's too much work to pick up that water. Just, I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
And not really even being able to connect with my own emotions very well, or it was very, very difficult. And I've often offered, and nobody hardly has taken me up on it, but that sometimes when you're in that hole, that particular drug I know created for me, you just need somebody, and you need somebody that gets it. And I'm going to put this offer out here again. But if anybody that hears this is going through that and they're like, I just can't do this anymore, um, get in touch with me because I'd love to be there for somebody. People were there for me that I didn't even know. And I had never really met, but they were there for me through that. And that's hard because not your husband can't get it. Your mother
Mm.
can't get it. Your kids can't get it. Nobody can understand just that. I don't know, that isolation that you feel when you're going through that. At least I did.
No, you described that whole experience with Adriamycin, the Red Devil, perfectly, and you don't have enough wherewithal to put good conscious thoughts together, um, and each time you go to have it done, you are brought to the brink of death because it's
Yeah.
killing healthy cells too. Um, and you're right. The best way to pay it forward is to help someone going through it. And samesies here, please get in touch with me or Julie if you're just having a weak moment and you need to just say, I don't feel good. I don't want to do this anymore. And we'll cheer you on for sure because it's really good at the end. It's really wonderful when
Yeah.
you win the battle and move on with your life. And you will move on.
Yeah. And you will get back to normal and be your
Yes.
same perky self, but with some wisdom that you gain throughout it.
Yes.
I feel like that's the important part is that you should never go through something really difficult without letting it grow you. And if
Yes.
you're struggling with how is this going to grow me as a human being, um, dig around, do a
Yes.
lot of praying, read, search for guidance because there's always a way.
Yes.
Um, and it's just trusting. Sometimes in those middle of those Adriamycin days, it's like the only thing I could count on is that tomorrow will be a better day.
Yes.
And I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel miserable right now. And I'm just going to feel miserable. There's like almost nothing I can do about it right now. I'm trapped in this feeling, but I'm just going
Yes.
to hold on. And if I have to just stare blankly at a meaningless television show and not even register what's happening on the screen, just get through it for 2 or 3 days and the sun's
Yes.
going to come out again.
Yes. You've really described that perfectly. It's been a while since my experience, but doing these podcasts and talking about other people's experiences just brings those memories back so fresh. And if we keep working for the common goal, Julie, and we can get rid of this disease, and no one ever has to go through those days, and those medicines, and we can get rid of this terrible disease. It would be wonderful. Well, we
Imagine if it
love
was
you.
all imagine if it was all precision type of medicine. I mean, that kind of thing isn't necessarily prescribed for every cancer because it's not a thing. It's not like
Right.
it's not warranted for every kind of cancer. It's just not even available, I guess is what I mean. Not because of science, well, maybe, but because of our own genetics, or because of the kind of cancer it might not respond to that. But
Right.
imagine if one day all of it could be solved with specific little fixes instead of this bath of this horrible chemical.
And that's what I'm hoping it will morph into, that it
Yeah.
will be the standard of care and we'll say, "Oh my god, we were so silly for just, dumping all these chemicals into people and hoping for the best." If we can lean more towards precision medicine, as the standard of care, I I I really feel like that's the way it's going to go. It just makes sense. It just makes good sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I
we love
agree.
you so much, and we are so proud of you, and I'm so proud to call you my friend, and I can't wait till we can have normal lunches again.
I know. Well, right back at you, Karen Stahl. I'm honored to know you, and I love everything that you're doing with your organization. And I can't wait until we can get back together for your great fundraiser party that you do every year. It's
Oh,
fabulous.
thank
And
you. Stay
thank
stay
you.
tuned for the details coming for that very soon.
Awesome.
All right, honey, take care. We're gonna say goodbye for now,
Thank
and we'll
you.
be in touch.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Julie.